Okay, so several times today we have mentioned our student grant program. I've already told you a little bit about it, who's eligible, what kind of activities are typically eligible. One thing that we've found though, even just over the past year, 6 months to a year, is when we have a chance to sit and speak with students directly, we've been able to learn a little bit more about the program and we've got some ideas of how to make it better. But we're excited today to have a couple of students join us to share a bit about their experience with the student grant program. Both are juniors at Maize South High School. I've got a few questions for them, but as we dive in, please feel free to drop a question in the Q&A box and we'll get to those if we have them. So welcome Tad Keller, Ben Gorman, thanks for joining us today. I'm gonna start, just kind of dive right in, but let's have both of you, Tad, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm currently a junior at Maize South High School. I actually use these grants to attend space camp at the Hutchinson Cosmosphere. Yeah, it's just a really amazing experience to doing that.
Great, Ben?
My name is Ben Gorman. I'm also a junior at Maize South. I use the grants to go to the Hutchinson Cosmosphere camps as well.
Great. Tad, let me ask you, how did you first learn about the student grant program?
Initially, it was through staff. So my mom worked with the school district at the time, and so that was initially when I first got exposure to it, when it really wasn't a big thing. So that's how I initially got exposed to it. But now it's certainly a lot easier.
Right. And Ben, how did you find out about it first?
I'm in kind of the same boat, but I had heard about other people getting it, and I had heard the deadline announcements like over the intercoms before, and so I kind of knew what it was for. And then once I actually did it, it made getting to go to space camp a lot easier.
Okay. You know, I think both of you have had multiple grants, right? Ben, you mentioned going to space camp and activities at the Cosmosphere. Were there other activities that you did through grants?
No.
Okay, but you did different levels of that experience, right?
Yeah, each camp is kind of a step up from the last one. It builds on each other, and so each camp is a new experience.
Okay, what kinds of things were you doing there?
So throughout the camps, we've done a lot of things. So one of them was we learned how to scuba dive. And so we got that experience, and that was one of the main things for that camp. And then at the Cosmosphere, they have space shuttle simulators, and then they actually have a new one called the Orion Capsule Simulator. And each year as we progress through the stages of the camps, we get a new, more difficult mission, and it's a simulation of what actual astronauts go through.
Okay. And Tad, you mentioned the Cosmosphere as well, but I think you also have done at least one grant for robotics, right?
Yes. So my Eagle Scout project was actually to help enrich the elementary school students within Maize, and my goal was to provide a small robotics program to help them and get them started on a path to STEM. So a part of that grant was to fund the equipment to give robotics equipment to the Maize Elementary School.
And you competed in the VEX robotics
Competition,
world?
yes.
That was what, 2 years ago?
Yes, my freshman year of high school, I did go to the World Shoot Championship in Kentucky. It was a really amazing experience for sure.
And what kinds of activities are you competing in with that?
So at the actual World Championship, you go against teams from over 50 different countries. And it's really just you're going to see, the best of the best teams and compete against, the smartest people in the world, really. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And, you have to collaborate with different people who speak different languages and who are from different nationalities. It really is a great experience for sure.
Sounds pretty challenging.
Yes, it is.
So Ben, I'm going to ask you this question, and then Tad, I'll probably ask you the same question. How have your your experiences at the Cosmosphere given you an opportunity to explore like potential future career, future education paths?
So this year's camp and last year's camp, we got to speak with engineers and designers from companies like SpaceX and NASA, where they're actively like doing their career is what we want to grow up and do. So it's really, really cool to like speak with them and to understand like the steps we need to go through to achieve our goals.
Great. And Tad, what about you? Same question.
I think the focus on computers and robotics at the camp was really what interested me. I think it helped further my knowledge in that as well. It just made it way more interesting overall.
Okay. Now, Tad, how did you get interested in computer science and robotics in the first place?
Well, I started when I was about 11 or 12 years old. So starting with computers, I've always been interested. So I started programming like computers and games when I was about 13. And ever since, it's just been like a spiral. I mean, I've always been interested since then. And with the introduction of robotics my freshman year, that helped apply my skills to actually something useful and for a team sport.
Great. Ben, would you say that you kind of had the same experience with getting into your interests?
Yeah, just starting off with computers, getting interested in them. It's a lot of fun.
Great. How would you describe, Ben, I'll start with you. How would you describe the application process?
So before, when it was typed on a PDF, that was definitely like, and we had to like turn it in, that was definitely a lot harder than the new Kaleidoscope system. I much prefer this because it's online and it saves your progress and it's a lot easier.
Okay, Tad, what do you think?
I would absolutely have to agree. I think the handwritten stuff was all right. It was actually already easier than expected, but the new online system is way better. There's no like losing a massive, chunk of, whatever you wrote, and it's just, it makes it way easier. And it's also, it's open to a wider variety of people because it's easier to advertise as a website. No one wants to go to a website and print off a PDF and then fill it out and then have to turn it in. It opens the opportunity to more people for sure.
What would you recommend in terms of, this is a question from one of our audience members, how can we get this funding opportunity information to more of your classmates so that they know that it's available?
I would say, I think the first step would be to advertise in the school hallways. I mean, I think that's already done, but I think it should be more like prominent, I would say. Sending an email as well to different students would help, and just make it really noticeable. I think that would be a good first step.
Ben, do you have any ideas?
I think like the students understand that there are like grants available, but I don't know if they know like where they're applicable. So like we went to Space Camp or to robotics worlds or to, help out in elementary school. I don't think like the other students understand how much the grant can do.
Right. So like do you think if we worked with teachers to help different students understand what activities are there, that might help?
Yeah, I definitely do.
Okay, great. I think that hits all of the questions that we had from our audience today. I know you guys have lots to do. We're kind of in the end of the school year, so I'm sure you have lots going on, but just thank you for joining us today and sharing some of your thoughts and your experience with us. Good luck with the rest of the school year. Thanks, guys. So these two students represent a pretty small sample of what really is a pretty wide variety of students and ideas that come in the applications that we get each semester. As I mentioned, we're already looking for ways to grow and evolve the program, and even some of the comments from Ben and Tad help us understand even better how we can better communicate with them and help them understand not just that the opportunity is here, but that we need to help them understand what activities make sense for them to do that. And I think this even alludes back to Dr. Higgins and even Ben's question about, how can you get involved? And I think this is one of those community things where we've relied heavily on parents to help their children understand, hey, here's an opportunity to go take advantage of it. But we work through teachers and counselors as well. So it's definitely a community effort and something that we will look to all of you to help us continue growing.